The galaxy had never taken humans seriously. To the vast and ancient empire, sprawling across thousands of star systems and ruled by alien dynasties, humanity was little more than a cosmic punchline. A disorganized, volatile species clinging to a backwater rock called Earth, wielding rusty ships and crude weapons. Other races laughed openly at humans' reckless bravery, crude humor, and seemingly chaotic ways. Primitive, the Empire's elite commanders sneered, unworthy of even a moment's thought. But on the battered bridge of the Resolute, a scuffed but fiercely defended human frigate, the mood was anything but defeatist. Commander Ava Reyes, mid-30s with eyes sharp as flint, stood over a holographic star chart, her jaw clenched tight. The Resolute was barely holding together after a narrow escape from an ambush near the outer rim, but they'd managed to snatch a prize: the Empire's encrypted battle transmissions. "This could change everything," Ava said quietly to her crew. "They think we're a joke. Let's give them the punchline." Around her, ragtag humans and a few alien sympathizers worked feverishly, decoding the data and preparing for what would come next. They knew the Empire's might was overwhelming: vast fleets, devastating technology, and ruthless soldiers. But humans had something the Empire never expected: tenacity and unpredictability. They were scrappy, adaptable, and stubborn beyond reason. In the mess hall, Technician Jax Malone wiped grease from his hands and grinned. "They think we're animals, but animals survive." The crew shared a rare moment of laughter amid the tension. Their lives were danger and loss, but also fierce camaraderie. Earth was a forgotten world, a place no one valued, but to them, it was home. Back in the command center, Ava's comlink crackled. A voice, low and urgent, came through. "Commander Reyes, we've intercepted an Empire convoy. Heavily armed, but moving slow and predictable." She narrowed her eyes. This was the chance they'd been waiting for. Plot a course. We hit them hard, fast, and disappear. The Resolute's engines hummed to life, and the ship slipped silently through the dark void. In the Empire's eyes, humans were expendable fools. But tonight, the Resolute would remind them why humanity was never to be underestimated. As the stars streaked past, Ava thought of the countless humans crushed under the Empire's boot, soldiers lost, colonies burned, families shattered. She vowed this time would be different. The battle was swift and brutal. The Resolute darted through the convoy, unleashing a barrage of plasma bolts and missile strikes that crippled the lead ships. Empire fighters scrambled to respond, but found themselves outmaneuvered by the humans' wild, unorthodox tactics. They vanished into asteroid fields and nebula before reinforcements could arrive. When the dust settled, the Resolute emerged battered but victorious, the Empire's convoy in ruins. The galaxy's laughter was about to stop. The Empire's reaction was swift and ruthless. News of the Resolute's audacious strike spread like wildfire through the sprawling corridors of Imperial Command. The mocking smiles vanished, replaced by cold calculation and simmering rage. Humans, those chaotic, unpredictable pests, had drawn first blood. The galaxy's greatest war machine would respond, and harshly. But on the outer edges of space, far from the gilded halls of the Empire, the spark of defiance was catching fire. Commander Ava Reyes stood before a gathering of survivors, smugglers, and former soldiers. Humans scattered across star systems, fractured by years of oppression and defeat. The once disorganized bands now found hope in Ava's fierce resolve and unyielding spirit. She spoke plainly, her voice ringing with conviction. "We are not slaves. We are not fools. The Empire thinks it can crush us like bugs, but it has forgotten one thing: humans never quit." Her words ignited something old and fierce in the crowd: the will to fight. Across a dimly lit war room aboard the Resolute, the crew pored over stolen Imperial schematics and communications, hunting for weaknesses. Humans, long dismissed as backward, had a talent for improvisation. Where the Empire prized order and strict protocols, humanity thrived on adaptability. and bold, unconventional strategies. The next strike was planned with ruthless precision. This time, the target was an Imperial supply depot on a remote moon, a critical node in the Empire's logistics chain. The humans would hit fast, hit hard, and vanish before Imperial reinforcements could arrive. The raid was chaos personified. Human fighters launched from the Resolute, weaving through heavy fire, their ships seemingly reckless but devastatingly effective. Ground teams stormed the depot, sabotaging equipment and seizing supplies. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the humans fought with a ferocity and desperation that shocked the Empire's soldiers. Meanwhile, the Empire scrambled to respond. Battle cruisers were dispatched, their weapons blazing in pursuit, but the humans vanished like ghosts into asteroid belts and ion storms. Each successful strike fueled rumors and fear among Imperial ranks. Maybe the joke was over. Back at the Resolute, Ava received a message from an unlikely source, a disgraced alien mercenary captain named Kale, known for his sharp mind and sharp blade. He proposed an alliance. "Your kind fights like maniacs," Cal's message read, "but I've never seen such guts. The Empire has enemies everywhere. Join me, and we'll make them regret underestimating us." Ava hesitated, but she knew alliances were key to survival and victory. The galaxy was vast, and the Empire's grip was tight, but cracks were beginning to show. That night, as stars shimmered outside the ship's viewport, Ava stood alone, contemplating the growing storm. They were still the underdogs, still the laughingstock. But now, humans had a voice, a roar rising from the ashes of humiliation. And this was only the beginning. The capture of the remote supply depot had been just the opening gambit. Now, humanity's rebellion was no longer a ragtag collection of desperate survivors. It was growing into a force to be reckoned with. News of human victories spread, inspiring oppressed species under the Empire's boot to whisper of rebellion and hope. Commander Avaray stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching star charts flicker with the positions of their allies. With the help of Kull, the alien mercenary captain who'd become a trusted advisor, the humans had secured alliances with several disenfranchised factions. Miners who'd lost their homes, engineers rejected by the Empire's caste system, and soldiers disillusioned by endless conquest. One of their greatest prizes was the ancient forgotten star system of Hespera, a cluster of mining colonies rich in rare materials and strategically positioned near key Imperial shipping lanes. The Empire had long ignored it, considering it insignificant. Humans saw opportunity. Under Ava's orders, a swift campaign took Hespera by surprise. Using stolen Imperial tactics, combined with guerrilla warfare and their own unpredictable maneuvers, humans seized the system within weeks. The victory disrupted Imperial supply chains, forcing the Empire to divert precious fleets to regain control. But what made this victory truly remarkable wasn't just the territory. It was what humans did next. They began reverse engineering Imperial technology scavenged from battlefields and derelict ships. Their engineers, working around the clock, adapted enemy designs into new weapons and ships. They weren't replicating the Empire's cold, rigid technology. They infused it with human creativity, making it faster, deadlier, and often surprisingly simple to maintain. Kale admired this innovation. "You humans have a way of turning scrap into gold," he said, watching a newly built fighter test its systems. Meanwhile, the rebellion's ranks swelled. Alien species tired of Imperial rule secretly sent envoys to the Resolute, pledging allegiance. Humans had become a beacon, a symbol of resistance that transcended species. But the Empire was no fool. Their Grand Council met in furious debate, unable to ignore the threat. Generals demanded overwhelming force, but the Council was fractured, wary of committing too many resources to a fight with a species once deemed insignificant. Still, pockets of Imperial soldiers and governors tried to quell the uprising with brutality. Entire colonies were razed to the ground, and propaganda painted humans as savage terrorists. Yet, instead of cowing their allies, the atrocities only hardened their resolve. On the Resolute, Eva addressed her crew, her voice steady but passionate. "We're no longer scavengers hiding in the shadows. We're a storm coming to sweep away the old empire. They laughed at us once. They won't laugh twice." As the Resolute prepared for its next mission, a coordinated strike on an Imperial communications hub, Eva's gaze lingered on the distant stars. The galaxy was shifting, and humans were the axis on which it would turn. The joke had ended. The era of human power was only just beginning. The Empire's response to humanity's uprising was no longer just brute force. It had turned to shadows and whispers. Behind the glittering spires of the Imperial capital, dark agents moved silently, sowing seeds of betrayal and doubt within the fragile human coalition. Commander Ava Reyes had learned to expect enemies not only on battlefields but in the minds and hearts of her closest allies. Paranoia crept into the ranks as rumors of spies and traitors spread like wildfire. One by one, key operatives went missing or were exposed as double agents, undermining crucial operations. The first betrayal struck like a dagger. Lieutenant Mara Voss, Ava's trusted second-in-command and childhood friend, was caught transmitting secret plans to Imperial intelligence. The revelation shattered the crew's morale. Eva confronted Mara in the cold, sterile break. "Why?" Eva asked, voice barely steady. Mara's eyes were hollow. "They promised safety for my family. You don't understand what it's like to live in fear." Ava's heart ached, but she knew mercy could mean death for them all. As the rebellion's grip tightened, Ava found herself walking a razor's edge, balancing ruthlessness with compassion, suspicion with trust. Yet amid the chaos, a deeper truth surfaced. The Empire was more fragile than anyone believed. Encrypted documents recovered from Mara's secret cache revealed the Empire's dark origin, a brutal conquest forged on genocide and betrayal within its own species. The ruling council was a fragile alliance held together by fear and deception, rife with internal power struggles. This revelation became a rallying cry. At a secret meeting aboard the Resolute, Ava addressed the coalition's leaders, humans and allied aliens alike. "We fight not just an enemy outside, but a corrupt, rotting core that will crumble if we strike it true. The Empire is built on lies. We will use those lies to tear it down." Plans shifted from open warfare to psychological campaigns and covert operations. Human spies infiltrated Imperial circles, spreading misinformation and stoking distrust among the Council. Rebel sabotage crippled supply lines and communications, turning the Empire's strengths into weaknesses. But the War of Shadows was perilous. When a trusted informant was assassinated under mysterious circumstances, Ava realized the Empire's reach was deeper than anticipated. Even among their ranks, secrets festered. The fight was no longer just for survival. It was a test of humanity's soul. Yet, through every loss and betrayal, the human spirit burned brighter. The rebellion's resolve hardened. One night, standing alone on the Resolute's observation deck, Ava stared into the vast void of space. The stars seemed colder, distant, but inside her, a fire blazed, a promise to fight until the last breath. "We were a joke," she whispered to the night. "But jokes end. Legends begin." The shadows that stalked them only made the dawn more certain. The Empire's capital world, Azura Prime, gleamed like a jewel in the void, a symbol of millennia of power, wealth, and cruelty. Its towering spires stretched beyond the clouds, its defense fleets legendary for their might. To strike at Azura was to challenge the very heart of the galaxy's ruling order. Commander Ava Reyes stood at the helm of the human fleet, staring at the swirling clouds below. The Resolute led a ragged armada composed of human vessels and allied ships, scared but fiercely determined. They had come not as refugees or rebels, but as conquerors. "Today," Ava said, voice steady and sharp, "we show the galaxy what humans are made of." The assault began with brutal intensity. Swarms of fighters screamed through the planet's dense atmosphere, engaging Imperial interceptors in fiery dogfights. On the surface, human commandos infiltrated the sprawling palace complexes, targeting communications hubs and command centers. The Empire's defenses struck back with merciless precision. Massive turrets belched plasma fire. Squads of elite guards fought with the cold efficiency of seasoned killers. The sky darkened with warships exchanging volleys that lit the clouds like thunder. Yet, humans fought with an unpredictable ferocity no Imperial had anticipated. They used guerrilla tactics in the palace corridors, hit-and-run strikes, explosives hidden in ancient ventilation shafts. Ambushes sprung from shadows. Every inch taken was paid for in blood, but the tide steadily turned. Inside the Emperor's fortress, Ava faced her greatest test. The corridors twisted like a labyrinth, guarded by relentless foes. Her team fought forward, navigating traps and betrayal from within. Some among their ranks turned by fear or bribery. At the climax, Ava confronted the Imperial warlord Cathar, a towering warrior who embodied the Empire's arrogance. Their duel was fierce and brutal, a clash of steel and willpower echoing through the ancient halls. Each blow carried the weight of a galaxy's future. In a desperate final move, Ava outmaneuvered Cathar, disarming him and forcing his surrender. Outside, the human fleet shattered the last Imperial resistance, forcing the Grand Council into chaos. News of Ava's victory spread like wildfire. Species long oppressed rose in rebellion or offered surrender. The Empire's reign, once thought eternal, was crumbling. But victory came at a terrible cost. The Resolute was heavily damaged. Countless comrades lay dead or wounded. Ava stood among the ruins of the palace, the weight of command heavy on her shoulders. "The Titans fall," she murmured, "but the future is ours to build." The galaxy held its breath. The era of Imperial dominance was over, but the dawn of a new age had just begun. The once mighty Empire was broken, its colossal throne shattered like glass underfoot. Across the galaxy, star systems breathed a collective sigh of relief and hope. The age of tyranny had ended. Commander Ava Reyes stood before a vast assembly on the reclaimed capital world of Azura Prime. Representatives from dozens of species, humans, aliens, former Imperial subjects alike, gathered beneath a sky streaked with the fires of rebuilding. The scars of war were still fresh, the cost immeasurable, but a fragile unity took root. "We fought for survival, but now we fight for something greater." Ava's voice rang clear and steady. "Not to conquer, but to lead. To build a galaxy where every species can thrive in freedom and respect." The crowd erupted in cautious applause, the weight of centuries of oppression slowly lifting from their shoulders. But leadership was no easy mantle. The new coalition faced fractured loyalties, simmering resentments, and the challenge of healing wounds both visible and hidden. Ava knew the Empire's collapse left a vacuum, a void that could swallow them all if they weren't vigilant. Back aboard the Resolute, now patched and refitted, Ava and her trusted advisors plotted the next steps. Plans for infrastructure, fair governance, and defense were drawn up, but so too were warnings. Not all factions welcomed the new order. Shadows lingered. Yet humanity had changed. The species once mocked for recklessness had learned discipline and wisdom forged in fire. They had grown beyond survival instincts into architects of destiny. One evening, as stars twinkled beyond the ship's viewport, Ava reflected on their journey. From the laughed-at underdogs to the galaxy's defining force, she thought of every sacrifice, every battle, every betrayal turned to resolve. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts, a transmission from Kale, the mercenary turned ally. "The galaxy is watching, Commander," his voice crackled. "Many are hopeful, some are wary, but all know this: humans changed everything." Ava smiled faintly. "Then let's make sure they remember us for the right reasons." Her gaze lifted toward the distant, unexplored stars, the final frontier still waiting. The universe was vast, full of mysteries and dangers, but also promise. Humanity's story was far from over. They had been a joke once. Now, they were the galaxy's architects, its guardians, and its hope. And this was only the beginning.